Hey there guys, what's up? Ragtter here bringing you your RU guide for this week. Now as before, we are focusing on win conditions. That's right ladies and germs, these 6 Pokemon are my offer to you to try and help you strengthen your team and make your cleaning up in RU just a little bit easier. Now we'll be starting with one of my favorite fighting type Pokemon, Hitmonlee. Now Hitmonlee is a really cool Pokemon, and he is very powerful courtesy of his Reckless ability. Now, Reckless will allow any attack that Hitmonlee uses that causes him recoil or potential crash damage to do 1.2 times damage. So High Jump Kick, which is already stronger than Close Combat but less accurate, will do even more damage, becoming Hitmonlee's hardest hitting move and a devastating answer to anything that's even remotely fighting type weak. Knockoff is a move that we use to make Hitmonlee's life just a little easier. Ghost types and Psychic types would love to come in and set up on Hitmonlee, but Hitmonlee with Knockoff says no, none of that, and he destroys their item and makes their lives miserable. Hitmonlee with Knockoff is kind of an open duck, a sitting duck, so you'll want to be running this on pretty much any Hitmonlee set you have. Stone Edge is an answer to flying types that Hitmonlee really also dislikes. With Stone Edge, Hitmonlee has the chance of KOing Moltres, assuming that this also doesn't miss. It is a reliable answer to flying types if you can get past the accuracy. Close Combat is Hitmonlee's most reliable stab. This one will probably force Hitmonlee to switch because of the defensive drops, but if you absolutely cannot afford to miss, then Close Combat is a solid answer. Hitmonlee's EVs are very easy. We run 252 in the attack to make him hit as hard as possible, while we run a Jolly Nature and put 252 also into the speed. To capitalize on Hitmonlee's need to outspeed whatever comes his way, and to further help that, we're running the Choice Scarf, because Hitmonlee will not really need to be switching moves very often. His attacks will either force switches, or something will come up against him that he probably can't take anyway. With Smart Predictions, one move in the late game will allow you to sweep through the rest of your opponent's team. Hitmonlee is a late game cleaner and a revenge killer, but don't waste him in the early game. Having him clean up in the late game is his greatest strength. Keep him alive and he'll do wonders. Now we look at Pidgeot, and Pidgeot got such a boon with these new games. Giving Pidgeot a Mega has been Pidgeot's greatest wish it could ever hope for. The Pidgeot type makes Pidgeot into a devastating special sweeper with a wide move pool to take advantage of. Let's jump over to Mega Pidgeot's stats so you can see what I mean. As you can see, there are a couple minor defensive bumps, but really, what we're focusing on is that special attack. It is 5 points short of being doubled for what Pidgeot normally has. And not only that, but the speed. Mega Pidgeot is so much faster than regular Pidgeot. And to top it all off is No Guard. Every move used by or against this Pokemon will always hit. This lets Pidgeot fire off as many stab hurricanes as it wants. It will never miss. Sure, it'll get hit all the time, but the potential just outweighs the cons on this one. Mega Pidgeot is a force to be reckoned with. As with Hitmonlee, the stats are pretty basic. We amp up that special attack as much as we can, and the speed, but we want Pidgeot to be hitting as hard as possible with its attacks that never miss. So we'll be putting a modest nature on this Pidgeot. Mega Pidgeot's move pool is one that brings a lot of coverage and power to the table. First of all, the ever mighty Hurricane. Normally its shaky 70 accuracy would dissuade you from using it, but Pidgeot's No Guard it gets upon Mega Evolving turns Hurricane into a reliable weapon of mass destruction with a 30% chance to confuse the target. Hurricane is an amazing move and should be run on pretty much every Mega Pidgeot. In much the same vein is Heat Wave. Heat Wave provides Pidgeot coverage. Again, 90 accuracy. Good but not great. With no guard, Heat Wave becomes Pidgeot's answer to the troubling steel types that normally wall it, in addition to being good neutral coverage. Fire types hit a lot. And Pidgeot having one of the better fire type attacks in its arsenal is a definite blessing. In order to get some recovery, we're packing the Roost, which will heal 50% of Pidgeot's HP and remove its flying type until the turn ends. While this leaves it vulnerable to ground types, this will mean Pidgeot is not hurt as badly by electric type moves or rock type moves. So, use Roost to recover your Pidgeot should it take a couple hits in its devastating sweep. And last but not least, we're using U-Turn on this Pidgeot because it gives it some momentum building. This lets you use Pidgeot earlier in the game in order to force some switches and get some momentum on your side by U-turning out to the appropriate counter. Mega Pidgeot is a strong and devastating threat, and you should build your team around preparing to handle it. And here we come in with Doublade. Now, Doublade is a powerhouse, sporting 150 defense and 110 attack. You'll be hard-pressed to take a physical hit off of this Pokemon, and that is especially why we run the Eviolite. Eviolite turns Doublade into a physically defensive monster, and giving it a respectable special defense in the process. Doublade brings with it a powerful Swords Dance set to the table. Ghost and Steel is a very deadly offensive typing, and we can make excellent use of it with Doublade's monstrous attack stat and great physical bulk. The first stab attack of choice is Shadow Claw. This is your reliable go-to move for when you aren't afraid of getting picked off by something. Shadow Claw boosted with a Swords Dance will rip through pretty much anything on the opposing team, bar Dark types. That leaves us with Iron Head for the secondary Steel type stab, and this is your main weapon against fairies. Doublade is a very good check to Aromatisse and to Slurpuff, courtesy of this Iron Head ability, and the flinch chance is never a bad thing either. And last but not least, Doublade runs Shadow Sneak. With this attack, Doublade can revenge kill, Doublade can check answers to it that try to come in and set up on it, and under a Swords Dance, this can become a reliable stab move in its own right. Shadow Sneak means Doublade is not just setup fodder, and cannot just be taken out by simple Choice Scarf users. Doublade does run the risk of being a victim to knockoff, but with his high defense and decent HP investment in those EVs, you should be able to take a single knockoff and fire back with a strong hit of your own. Just don't try and set up on something that you can't take. Doublade doesn't like being statist. Running a Cleric alongside Doublade is a definite way to ensure your victory. And here we have Sceptile. Sceptile is a Pokemon that was also begging for a Mega Evolution and was gifted. Sceptile is an interesting Pokemon upon Mega Evolving, and we'll jump over to its stats right now. So as you can see, Sceptile gets a nice upgrade in all the right areas. It gains a usable 110 attack, a monstrous 145 special attack, and an outrageous 145 speed. There's very little that can go toe-to-toe with Mega Sceptile without the help of priority or a choice item. Mega Sceptile also gains the ability Lightning Rod. Now that makes it completely immune to electric type moves, and they will also draw electric type moves to Sceptile in the event of a double battle or a triple battle. Now, when it gets hit by these electric type moves, it also gains a special attack boost. While Mega Sceptile is still very frail, with 70-70-85 for its defenses, it can very reliably check water and electric types now with its new ability. Mega Sceptile is very potent, and when you look at its moves, you'll see why. So as you can see, because of Mega Sceptile's new Dragon typing, we can now run the reliable Dragon Pulse for some stab. Leaf Storm is there in order to deal devastating amounts of damage. Sure, it lowers your attack stage by 2, but you don't want Sceptile to be staying in very long anyway. You want it to come in, get a quick KO, and then get out. You also run the Protect in order to safely Mega Evolve it. It's very easy to pick off Mega Sceptile while it's still at Sceptile stages, and before it acquires the full speed from Mega Sceptile. Using Protect will guarantee your safety for 1 turn, and can also give you a bit more room in order to protect yourself against an opposing attacker. It lets you scout and act accordingly. Focus Blast is the last move we bring to the table. Sceptile gets walled hard by Steel types, and really doesn't like going up against them at all, and you fix that with this devastating 120 base power move. Now the 70 accuracy is not fantastic, so use this with caution and be prepared for it to miss more often than you'd like. But that does not deter the strength and the speed of Mega Sceptile. It is a powerful Pokemon that will find a welcome home on pretty much any team that needs something that hits fast and hits hard. Here's a Pokemon that's another personal favorite of mine, just because I think it looks kinda cool. Drapion is one awesome setup sweeper, and it's awesome in the RU metagame because it has a lot it can do. From setting up toxic spikes, to whirlwinding away all the opposition, to even being a tank. With its 110 base defense and an Assault Vest boosted 75 special defense, there's not a lot Drapion can't do. It's got great stats all around and a very unique Dark and Poison typing. You'll find pretty much any team benefits from having Drapion and one of its roles. In this instance, because we are looking at win conditions, we'll be looking at Swords Dancing Drapion. Now, you run the Lumberry because it's very important that Drapion does not get burned. If Drapion gets burned, its sweep is over, done. You are not killing anything with this Pokemon. So you run the Lumberry to get you some protection. Now, Battle Armor ensures that you can have as many stat boosts on Drapion, and it will never get critted. You will never have to swear to the RNG gods above for taking your victory from you, because Drapion cannot be critical hit. Now, as with any proper Swords Dance sweeper, you need the Swords Dance move, and that'll double Drapion's already fairly powerful attack stat. For Stab, the best stab move you could ask for as a Dark type is Knockoff. I've said this in all 3 guides. It is one of the best moves you can have right now, and as a Dark type, to get Stab from it, it is amazing. It is your main move of choice, and you really only stop using it once everyone else's items are gone. Then you move on to the Poison Jab. Having Poison type Stab lets Drapion go toe-to-toe with the fairies that would normally counter its Dark half. Poison Jab hits pretty much everything except for Steel types, and the occasional Ground type, but those are kind of rare in RU. And, with a 30% chance to poison the target, Drapion comes in barreling with these 2 powerful stabs. And for coverage, you pack the Aqua Tail. It doesn't do anything special, but it's a hard-hitting Water-type move. Drapion brings a bit of speed, a bit of power, and a bit of tank to the table, and with Swords Dance under its wing, you'll be hard-pressed to find something that can stop it. And last but not least, we have everyone's favorite fiery bird of doom, Moltres. Moltres is a wonderful Pokemon in RU. It's incredibly powerful, and you can make it nightmarishly fast. Moltres has a lot of utility in this game, as a revenge killer, or as a setup sweeper. Moltres finds a home on pretty much any team in RU, because of its coverage, its power, and, in this case, we'll be using its speed. This is an agility Moltres. You basically bring in Moltres in on an attack it can take, probably grass. You set up with your agility, and you go to town with 2 powerful stab-type moves. That is to say, we are running the Hurricane and the Fire Blast. Now, both of these are rather inaccurate, and that might dissuade you. So, instead, Flamethrower is a viable option, but you'll be wanting to stick with the Hurricane. With Flamethrower and Agility behind you, there's pretty much nothing that can really take a hit from a life-orbed Moltres, and when the damage gets to be just a little too much to bear, you can roost. Moltres' stats are pretty simple as well. You put as many points into special attack as you can. Now we stop at 148 speed, because after that, with an agility boost, Moltres already outspeeds everything. So there's no more need for speed. And you can instead put some points into its HP to give it a bit more durability. Moltres doesn't have a bad HP stat, so bulking that up gives it a bit more longevity. All in all, Moltres is a devastating Pokemon to have sweep through your team, and if you're not prepared for it, you will lose to it. In fact, even having checks and counters to Moltres doesn't mean you're getting off scot-free. Moltres hits hard on every side no matter what, so bringing in something to check it, you might just want to try to revenge kill it instead. That's been this week's Are You Friday. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you'd make use of these 6 Pokemon in order to eliminate the competition. I'll see you next week on OU Monday, where we get back to battles and have some fun. Until then guys, take care, happy battling, and bye-bye!